Alright, welcome to part 2. Now, before we really get going, I do want to share one additional thing here really quick. Uh, for those of you who've never seen it, this is Warcraft 2. Now, I played the crap out of Warcraft 2, and I'm sure at least a few of my viewers have as well. Um, Warcraft 2 up there looks like that. I only mention it because it was certainly nice for its time. Warcraft 2 is also the first real Blizzard game, for reasons I'll talk about later. Preacher, I haven't had time. I won't all day. Okay? I'll get to it after the stream today, maybe. Um, but yeah, that's Warcraft 2. While the visual aesthetic really is the first Blizzard game style and that kind of thing, it's also when the WoW Warcraft style kind of became a thing. Overall, that was the UE. Now, I mention this because who out there actually played in the Starcraft beta? Now, I can actually claim this, although only briefly, and that's because of, well, okay, let me just get ahead to this. This is what Starcraft used to look like. You may notice some similarities between the two. Also, this is hideous. Like, if this was actually what Starcraft would look like, I probably would have never played it, in all honesty. What the hell is this mess? Now, this is the Zerg, if you're not aware. But the copy pasting on display is a little bit blatant. So that's kind of messed. It's just this disgusting, horrible copy paste, terrible. It's a mess. It's a horrible, horrible mess, and it looks terrible. I'd just like to say I'm really glad that this over here is what we got instead of that mess. I just wanted to showcase that for some people who haven't seen that. So why don't we go ahead and get started here. As soon as I find the actual game. There it is. Okay, we're good, we're good. First, we're going to watch the cinematic, because of course we are. Hopefully it plays the right one. Maybe? Wrong one. That's Brood War. Okay, was not anticipating that problem. Okay, well I guess I'll just summarize the cinematic for you. I was not anticipating that being a problem. It's actually very threadbare. In fact, a lot of people watched the original cinematic and were like, what the hell's going on? Because it was kind of, not exactly informative. Now, hang on just a second. I will make this work. Damn it. I am not seeing any connection drops on my end, so I'm just going to blame Twitch for that. Up to you, Darkrai. I know plenty of people who have watched StarCraft basically by having it on, by having cheats on. You know. Hang on, just a second. So let's talk about one other thing while I'm getting this set up here, and that's the fact that is this it? Yep. Oh, jeez, that quality. That's the fact that StarCraft, Blizzard in general, has always been pretty much at the top end of the cinematic quality. Now, I mentioned that because looking back, you know, you watch their Warcraft 1 CGI and their Warcraft 2 CGI, and it's like, that's terrible. It's hard to remember how amazing it was for the time. There were quite a few instances back in the day where, you know, you see their CGI would come out and people were just blown away by it. And just, oh my god, this is incredible. I'm just, wow, you know. I mention that because, in my opinion, most of the original StarCraft cinematics have not aged that well. The Brood War ones have aged a little bit better, but the original ones just, But without wishing to do anything, we're just going to do something really quick here. Give me just a moment.
I can't see a thing, Jim. Well, hold on. I swear, it's always some damn thing. Wait, got it. Ah, hell, this thing ain't gonna hold. Shut up. Damn, you're ugly. You girls strapped in nice and tight now. Tighter than your mama leg. That's a good one, Mick.
By the way, note the music that was playing during that intro. Just remember it. Some people have forgotten that that song is what started Starcraft, basically.
Locked in and cruising.
What you got for me out there, Joey Ray?
We got Terran for sure. I don't know about the rest. We got a big old buttload of floating debris out here. We hit pay dirt this time for sure. Explain to me, how are we gonna get all this home? I'm detached and moving toward the derelict spacecraft. Damn it, Jim. Video's out again.
Well, quit picking at it.
I ain't picking at it, damn it. I'm out here with a hitch in my caddy up in here and there slapping your jacks. Hold on, I got visual. Get the damn focus by the back! I'm behind the ship! I'm behind you, Jim!
So that's the intro to StarCraft. Now, little bit of information for those of you not fully aware what the hell is going on there. Those are scavengers. Now, scavenging is actually a really big business in most science fiction settings for some fairly obvious reasons. It's not often covered. Star Wars has a few things with that as well, for example. But the point there is that was just a group out there trying to scavenge a wreckage, which happened to be a ship that had conflicted with the Protoss. A couple things a point. First of all, there was Protoss wreckage in that debris field. That's significant because it highlights one of the interesting things about StarCraft. Despite the fact that the Protoss are hugely more advanced, technologically speaking, than the Terrans, that doesn't make them stronger militarily. I like that and applaud that for the fact that that makes sense. Greater advanced technology is certainly an advantage, but it is not an automatic advantage. It does not mean you automatically win every engagement. There are actually... Shut up, Rager. There are actually... it is possible for you to still lose an engagement with tactics, with military arms, with basic physics. So I like the fact that there was Protoss records there too. Nice point there. Second point, you may wonder why the Protoss would take out a scavenger ship, especially given that they were just there for the Zerg. Although, again... that actually makes perfect sense as well, because the Protoss don't want the Terrans getting a hold of their technology, and that was a scavenging crew. The Protoss, as I mentioned before, actually have a fairly non-interference policy. They basically do have a prime directive. And they rather specifically do not want their technology to get into the hands of the Terrans, so yeah, that makes total sense. Now, you're also probably asking, well, wait. Why were the Protoss and the Terrans fighting anyways? Well, remember, this is after the Protoss' first incursion into Terran space to wipe out the Zerg. This is after they have already glassed a planet. Now, again, let's say you've seen an alien ship just show up out of nowhere and destroy one of your worlds. With no warning, with no communication, no nothing. So maybe you should probably fight back? I mean, I don't know. What do you think the Terran response would be to that? It's obvious to understand why the two forces would be fighting, is what I'm trying to say. So let's go ahead and get on with the game proper. Shall we? Original. Yeah, we'll go ahead and make a new ID. We'll call it the guy who runs lores, but also... Oh, goddamn, I ran out of room. Toxy too muchy. No? Okay, whatever. We'll just go with this. In the decades since the end of the Guild Wars, the oppressive Terran Confederacy has stood unchallenged in its supremacy over colonized space. All that changed 4 days ago, when a large alien fleet emerged from warp space and laid waste to the Confederate colony of Chowsara. The Confederacy, fearing the aliens' fleet next target will be the nearby colony of Marsara, has sent you to intervene. Acting as magistrate, you are to safeguard the colonists and keep the state of panic from escalating any further.
Welcome to Marsara, Magistrate. The equipment demonstration you requested is prepared and may be initiated at your convenience. Simply select Start to begin the demonstration. You may skip the demonstration by selecting Skip Tutorial.
A couple things I want to point out really quick. First of all, Sara is all about the...
T-280 SCV is the cornerstone of our hostile environment construction and resource gathering operations.
Roger that.
In order to build a thriving colony, numerous SCVs are necessary. You can build additional SCVs at a command center.
Go, speak freely, sir. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to send us into hostile territory and you want us to defend ourselves, then use the attack command. But if you want us to ignore enemy fire and go exactly to the spot you targeted, then use the move command. Now, which'll it be?
So, let's talk about the Magistrate really quick. I mentioned Starcraft was kind of at the beginning of a new era in storytelling. How's the audio, by the way? How's the audio in combat? Can you hear me while gunfire's happening and whatnot? I need to know, guys. You need to help me out. So, also need to know if we need to adjust the music volume or the audio volume. Also need to turn this on. Subtitles on. There we go.
You can use SCVs to build additional supply depots.
Orders, Captain?
Yes. Audio is good. Fantastic. Now, this was back in the day when, you know, the player character, aka the general you were playing, was just some generic person, and it was intended to be a player allegory. In other words, you're not actually intended to be anyone in particular.
Your forces are under attack.
Well, I can lower the volume, but that's going to lower the speeches too. So, we'll go ahead and lower it a bit and see what that does. Anywho, as I was saying, the, oh, good, we're done.
I read you. Orders received.
Not enough minerals.
So you weren't actually a character. You know, it was just here's you, the person in charge, and that's it. It was supposed to be an allegory for you. It was supposed to be an avatar for the player for the actual player. Hence the term player character. Now, whoops, we don't have that on, do we? There we go. This is relevant because this is also one of the first. Hey, nobody can do that, Travian. This is one of the first games that really had a big story focus in an RTS. So they have a big, strong story focus, and a character who basically isn't a character. So you can see how these things don't gel that well. Now, what they did as of Brood War was they basically made characters for most of the player characters, and kind of had that go in that direction. And they also kill off virtually every player character in Brood War, specifically to avoid that problem. In the future, in StarCraft 2, and in Warcraft 3, they got rid of the player character thing entirely. Warcraft 3, there was no general, you need to go do this. It was just you playing the game, and the character out there was Thrall, for example, right? And in StarCraft 2, it's all them. I mention this because most of the characters have been, most of the player character avatars have been slotted into the lore somewhere, but in some cases that doesn't quite make sense. Now, I'll mention these as we go further through the series as each player character, but the person we start off here, the Magistrate. Here's the official explanation for the Magistrate. After helping James Raynor take the Hyperion from Minsk, he then left and went on and was never heard from again. What? Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say this flat. I disagree with that so much I don't even have words to put into it. Let's just put this side by side here. So we've got Matt Horner, who is a very professional career officer with a diligent mind towards running things and running a tight ship. And he's very much the commander, right? and or excuse me, yeah, the captain, and he's known James Raynor for some time. He helped James Raynor. He helped James Raynor to take the Hyperion from Mengsk. He helped rebel against Mengsk. He was part of the Sons of Kor Hall. You see kind of how Matt Horner frickin' was the magistrate. It fits so perfectly that I am amazed they bothered to try and say, no, he's totally not the magistrate. He's some other guy. No, Matt Horner fits the magistrate almost perfectly. I mean, literally, the only thing that doesn't fit is they bothered to write some backstory for Horner that doesn't actually cohese with the magistrate's story. That's it. That's the only thing that doesn't fit. So, no, I'm sorry. We're playing Matt Horner here. I'm head canon, replace established canon when established canon is dumb. I'm looking at you, Mass Effect 3. So, I'm just going to refer to this character as Horner. Matt Horner. And I'm going to act as if he's Matt Horner. Because, again, it's clear that's what they wanted originally. And it's clear that was the original design thing, given how much that fits. So, moving on. Like I said, we'll mention who the various player characters are as we go through the games here. Oof. Now, one of the things that's interesting is the minerals thing. The minerals and Vespene gas are both actually an aspect of lore, not just gameplay thing. Now that's funny because they're not exactly the first game to do that. What are my objectives in this one? Oh, right. Speaking of gas. Hey, go over here. We know exactly who the Executor is, Trapium. That's one of the few we know exactly who it is. And that hasn't been, like, retconned away or anything like that. There's no, headcanon Matt Horner situation. We also know exactly who the Cerebrid is. We know most of the characters in Brood War, with one exception. We'll get to that, like I said.
The refinery processes raw Vespene gas, converting it into a form which your SCVs can gather.
So, the minerals thing. Minerals is a very generic term. They actually give them a name, and forgive me for not remembering it off the top of my head, but it's basically a catalyst agent, which is used to create neosteel along with a fairly large number of other things. For all intents and purposes, minerals are effectively Tiberium. For those of you who haven't actually read into the lore, excuse me, of... You're wrong, Samurai. For those of you who have not read into the lore of...
demonstration, there will now be a fully catered reception at Marsara Base.
Oh, cool. Lunchtime, guys. For those of you who have not actually read into the lore of Command & Conquer, Tiberium is not just a generic currency resource for the game. It contains a large number of different minerals and resources and otherwise valuable aspects within it, which are then can be smelted out and used for various productions. That's why Tiberium is a catch-all resource. It's the same thing with minerals, actually. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. The minerals act as a catalyst for all the things necessary to create neosteel and most of the plastics and a lot of the other resources that they actually use in StarCraft. So minerals are literally a generic resource. That's one of the reasons they're so valuable. Fun fact, minerals are basically only found around the Caprulu sector and other parts of the galaxy in this region. I just point that out. We should talk about the Caprulu sector soon. I'll think of a good time to talk about it. Remind me to talk about Caprulu sector. Now, Vespene is a little more obvious what Vespene is. Vespene is kind of like Chrism. Or I suppose that would actually be reversed, wouldn't it? Vespene is almost a universal resource because it is used as a catalyst for chemistry. It is used as something that can artificially change the genetic structure of humans and Zerg and Protoss. It has a huge amount of energy in it, so it can be used as a fuel source, and etc. etc. It's an extremely valuable resource. It's kind of the equivalent of. I suppose, actually there's not really a good allegory for that. I'd say dilithium, but that's just controlling the antimatter reaction. It's a great power source, and therefore has a great many uses, basically. The office of Matt Horner.
Adjutant online. Good evening, Magistrate. I'll fill you in on what's been
Magistrate
happening.
Matt Horner.
Confederate traffic has increased substantially within the system due to the recent Protoss destruction of the Chow Sara colony. The Confederates have tightened security on all outlying systems, and it's likely that this colony will be locked down as well. An encrypted Confederate transmission came for you while you were at dinner. Replaying transmission.
Greetings, Magistrate. I'm General Edmund Duke of the Confederate Security Forces Alpha Squadron. The Confederacy has quarantined this entire planet, and we'll proceed with a lockdown within 48 hours. You're to relocate your core colonists to the outlying wastelands. Now, I know there won't be any problems with these new arrangements.
Transmission ended. I have contacted the local marshal, James Rayner. Rayner has agreed to meet your personnel en route and escort them to the new wasteland site.
Alright, hands up. Who likes actually role-playing as the Magistrate when they replay Starcraft 1? I'll talk about that in a moment.
Standing by. Rock and roll.
Can't believe we're being sent to the wasteland. These Confederates think they can push anybody around.
I'm staying quiet for a second because...
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Rayner, Marshal of these parts.
Go ahead, Commander.
Rayner's one of my favorite
Your
characters.
forces are under attack.
Like, ever. Is anyone else having trouble hearing them? Because that sucks if that's true, because all I can do is raise the sound, which just means that the combat sound's going to be way louder, too. Okay, so we're here. We made it, yay.
Reporting for duty. Roger that.
Ah!
Affirmative. Roger that. Orders received. Reporting for duty.
So, that's Jimmy. I love James Rayner. How do I put this? Okay, let's talk about one of the other things StarCraft did very, very well. Voice acting. Now, this is actually kind of a standard for Blizzard, and has been for a long time. Blizzard has actually been fairly well known ever since the beginning for having good voice acting. Even nowadays, they still have really good voice acting. Most of the time. You know, I'd say like 90-95% of the time. It's relevant because at the time... Hang on, bro. God. I totally romantically love James Rayner, a fictional character, while I am a guy and not interested in guys. So, anyways, the voice acting really... I talked about this during my Dragon Age Origins lore run. I mentioned how significant it was to have good voice acting, even in a game, for like every character, to really help flesh out the world and make it feel better. If you had bad voice acting, it just kills a performance. It's hard to care about a character if they kind of sound like this, and oh no, the zombies are the one causing the problems. We should go before the explosion hits. You know, that just kills a performance. But the fact that they actually have some really amazing... does this help, Dragon Cat? They really have some amazing voice acting, not just for the main characters, but for all the units in general. And they do really good stuff with it. There is lore about all of them, yes, Pavemaniac. Or Pavemanic, excuse me. We do actually definitively know the fates of all three of those characters.
Infantry units such as Marines can be trained at this facility.
They're eating her, and now they're gonna eat me. Oh my god.
You want a piece of me, boy?
So, yeah, God, the Resident Evil intro. Yeah, that's exactly what bad voice acting does. Now, one of the other things they did that I actually really like is they had the animated, I don't know if you, can you see? Yeah, you can see this. The animated icons here. Now, these serve two purposes. First of all, when you're actually playing the game, it's like, here's the Marine. You could obviously see, you know, it's the Marine and his outline, his stats and whatnot. But you just see this little guy in there. And it gives you a little bit of add a little flavor to showcase who you're selecting and what they actually look like. So you can actually picture the SCV in the can. You can actually picture the Marine in his armor. You can actually picture Raynor in his armor, and so forth and so on. And of course, you can see the adjutant when you select units or buildings, rather. We'll see, Kamek. So, yeah, I know, Vect. Have you ever seen the guy who voice acts Tychus Findlay? He doesn't look anything like his voice. Yay. So, it also gives them the option of doing what they did in the cutscenes, where you can see a unit person, kind of talking there during the briefings, and during the in-game cutscenes, of which there are actually quite a few. It enables them to actually showcase who's talking and whatnot. It's just an added little bit of flavor. What did StarCraft do bad? I've already mentioned one thing: the fact that they didn't bother at the time to name the characters, the player characters, and actually had the generic Magistrate, Cerberus, Cerebrate, and Executor. And they did that even in Brood War, even though by Brood War's time they'd already decided to go away from that, and had actually given a character to at least one of those, but I digress. Backwater Station.
Receiving incoming transmission. Comlink established.
Hey, what's up, man? Got your refugees tucked in nice and tight? Provided you can sidestep any more surprises from our Confederate friends and we can keep them away from those critters, they should have an easy time.
Priority alert. Backwater station under attack by unknown alien organisms. Distress beacon activated at 0658. Alerting Confederate headquarters on Tarsonis. Stand by for incoming transmission.
We've already received the distress beacon from Backwater, and we'll take care of it. You just sit tight. You'll be notified if there's anything we think you need to know.
Damn. Listen, if we wait for Confederate reinforcements, that station's dust. I'll head out there now and do what I can. You send in some militia, and we'll save those folks. Trust me.
So,
Glad to see you, boys. Time to kick some serious butt.
Orders, Captain? Right away, sir.
just a second. So Edmund Duke is actually kind of an interesting character. He's not actually evil in the strictest sense of the word. He's just kind of an ass. He is actually the perfect example of the old family's philosophy. In case you missed it earlier, or weren't here when I mentioned it, the Duke family is one of the old families. And he acts like it. He acts like someone who is privileged. He acts like someone who grew up with a golden spoon in his mouth. Which is funny because he actually is a fairly competent and decent tactician and strategist. And he is also someone who has a surprising amount of loyalty. We'll talk about that more later.
Not enough minerals.
But he's also... he's a weird example of a character because he doesn't have many positive character traits, but his negative character traits aren't that bad, as weird as that sounds. Not compared to some of the other really horrible bastards that exist in this setting. He's just out for himself, basically. And again, he's a privileged snot. So, that's going to rub people the wrong way, including me. Don't mistake me. I just find it interesting. I actually was a little bit grieved when, well, you know what happens in Brood War. Which is also funny, but again, we'll talk about that more later. That's terrible, Bregwin. That's another interesting thing about Duke, though. Like I said, he is actually a surprisingly competent commander. Maybe not a great leader. I doubt he inspires loyalty in his men. But he actually has a fairly large number of successful battles under his belt that he can actually claim credit for. As opposed to the kind of guy who would take credit for someone else's victories. Duke himself is honestly probably one of the best tacticians in the setting. Which is funny. What are we at? The Magistrate... I actually just finished talking about that. I'm not on fire. Basically, the canon explanation of the Magistrate is that he walked off. He just wandered off. The explanation that actually makes sense is that he's Matt Horner. And like I said, I'm just going to treat him as if he's Matt Horner because it makes sense. In like every way, it makes sense. So actually bad things about StarCraft. Feel free to toss this out here, anybody, but I do have one flaw with the original StarCraft, specifically the original StarCraft. The missions get a little boring. The plot's great, the story's great, the characters are great, the aesthetics are great, the gameplay's great, but honestly, very few missions in the original StarCraft vary from the you have a base, go kill the enemy base format. That's like what everything is in the original StarCraft. Very few variations of that. Most of the variations of that are actually the dungeon missions, which we'll talk about when we get to those.
Thanks for the rescue. We've been holed up in these bunkers for days hiding from the sun.
That would actually make sense a bit. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things I feel StarCraft 2 did definitively better than StarCraft. That being said, it is worth noting Brood War was actually the first game to really start varying the missions up. Brood War was when they really started being like, okay, why don't we do something with this? And I feel it worked out quite well, personally. I want at least 3 more, so... Maybe we'll just go with the 2. Oh, absolutely. If you want to start getting into RTSs, there are some good games to do that in. I've mentioned myself using Warcraft 3 as a starter RTS, but that being said, the original StarCraft is actually a really good starter point for that kind of a thing. Yes, it was, Mike's. We don't want to know, 7th. We don't want to know. There are actually quite a few good RTSs to start with, which is funny. There we go. I'm not sure which my first RTS was. It was either Dune or Warcraft 1. I don't remember which one I actually played first.
Whatever it is, it ain't natural. Burn it, boys.
Zerg Infestation. So Zerg have the power to infest. That'll be showing up a lot. And we'll be talking about that more later. Really quick, I just want to point out one thing. About the infestation thing. Infestation is basically... Okay, you know how the Zerg expanded by taking other species and infesting them, and genetically altering them, and then, iterating that over generations in order to make the Hydralisk and the Mutalisk, etc. That's basically what infestation is. Infestation is something they can do to buildings and whatnot as well. They basically infest it with a ton of biomatter, and that matter then literally affects things chemically and electrically in order to force them into behaving in a certain manner. It is effectively a form of assimilation. That being said, as Zed points out, StarCraft 2 changed how that works. It is worth noting there is an explanation for that. It is probably just a retcon, to be fair and honest, but there is still an explanation for it. So which you prefer, the mind control or the body control, is up to you. But shrug. Anyways. Now for Duke being an ass. Come on.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Marshal Rayner, by destroying a vital Confederate installation, you and your men have violated standing colonial law. As of right now, you're all under arrest. I suggest you throw down your weapons and come peaceably.
Are you out of your mind? If we hadn't burned that damn factory, this entire colony could have been overrun. Maybe if you hadn't taken your sweet time in getting here.
Now, I asked you nice the first time, boy. I didn't come here to talk with you. Now throw down them weapons.
Guess you wouldn't be a Confederate if you weren't a complete pain in the ass.
Some people wonder if the Confederacy is worse or better than the Dominion. I personally think Confederacy is actually worse in several ways than the Dominion. The Dominion, first of all, actually got stuff done. The Dominion actually was capable of accomplishing things. I'll talk about this more when we get more into the Terran Dominion. But the other thing is, we just have more information on what the Dominion did. We see a lot more of the personal aspect of what the Dominion did because of all the short stories and whatnot that flesh that out. We nevertheless do know that the Confederacy was doing some pretty horrible stuff. For example, the Confederacy has been aware of the Zerg for a while. How long? Well, they had this ghost, Ghost 42, actually. And Ghost 42 was one of their best ghosts, one of their strongest, one of their most powerful ones. And she was rescued from the Confederacy sometime prior to StarCraft 1 starting. We don't have an exact time. It's a decent chunk of time, though. And what she was rescued from was a facility in which they were experimenting with the Zerg using her and other ghosts who were present. That's how long the Zerg have been here. Since actually, basically before the Sons of Korhal thing even started, the Confederacy has been aware of the Zerg and just experimenting with them. So, most of the instances of... Yes, Ghost 42 is Kerrigan. Most of the instances of what the Confederacy is doing with regards to the Zerg is deliberate on the Confederacy's part. Allowing them to infiltrate, allowing them to infest, and it has been hinted, although I don't believe this has ever been verified, that the Confederacy actually deliberately seeded certain worlds with some of the Zerg organisms they found, specifically to draw more Zerg there in order to study them and experiment on them more. Now, if you're not catching that, that's Weyland-Yutani levels of freaking evil and stupid. Well, we've found this alien race that's incredibly violent and horrible and way more advanced than we are genetically, so why don't we deliberately seed it on one of our own colonies to see what happens? Like I said, the Dominion has done some horrible, horrible things, but the Confederacy, I think, is at least as bad. Oh yeah, so they had cinematic cutscenes in the middle of the game. This is also a kind of a new thing for this kind of a thing. Warcraft 2 didn't really have this. They had the intro and the outro, and that was basically it. And Command & Conquer just had the briefings. So actually having cinematics in the middle of the game was another nice, cool thing that StarCraft did. And they always do it to flesh out the settings some more. Also, it's Admiral de Gaulle.
What's that? Hold on a minute, a second. Steamroller! Looks like you mashed some poor feller's dog, Sarge.
It's a Zerglin, Lester. Smaller type of Zerg. He wouldn't be out this far unless... Oh, shit.
I love you, Sarge.
Again, I feel like pointing out he knew what the Zerg were, and knew what a Zergling was, specifically.
Receiving incoming transmission. Comlink established.
I got your message, Magistrate. And frankly, I don't care what you have to say about Confederate regulations. You damn fringe world yokels are all alike. Don't know where your loyalties lie. Y'all have a real good day now, you hear?
Transmission ended. The report you requested is ready. 16 Outland stations have reported sightings of the alien invaders identified as Zerg. The Confederates have arrested all standing militia forces and continue to avoid action against the Zerg. 3 stations have fallen to the Zerg already. We've been unable to locate any source of military relief except the extremist faction known as the Sons of Korhal. Their liaison is holding online.
Good day, Magistrate. My name is Arcturus Mengsk, and I represent the Sons of Korhal. You're familiar with the Confederate propaganda surrounding my group, but your reputation suggests you'll see past it. It's never been our practice to operate in any one place for long, but these Zerg don't look like they're going to wait. I'm going to make you an offer, Magistrate. I'd like to help you out by sending down a number of transports to your colony and evacuating any survivors. You know, of course, that my organization operates outside the bounds of Confederate law. That's why they spread their lies and misinformation. If you decide to accept our help, you'll be branded as an outlaw too. But it's a chance to save those people. Time to make a stand, Magistrate.
Ending transmission. Priority alert. Evacuation zone under attack by Zerg forces. Distress beacon activated at 12:20.
I love the setup of that. So, let's establish this here. So, our own marshal and most of my militia have been arrested by the Confederacy. The Confederacy is going out of its way specifically to avoid action against the Zerg. Again, going back to that whole just sitting back and watching to study the Zerg thing. I mention that because some people think the Confederacy was afraid of the Zerg and trying to avoid action because, oh God, leave us alone. No, they were specifically doing this on purpose to study the Zerg by feeding them a planet of colonists. But it's okay. It's 0% people I mentioned earlier, and I'm serious by this. The fringe world like this is a 0% thing, as I talked about earlier. So that's the first thing. So we're into this circumstances, and then someone in charge of a extremist faction, and let's be honest, the Sons of Korhal are actually kind of extremist even at this point in time, have come up and said, we'll give you some help. Of course, you'll be, branded a traitor, and they'll be coming after you, but, we'll accept your help. I mean, they just spread their lies and misinformation. And then the very next thing that happens, seconds later, is your outlying defenses have been hit by the Zerg. So, yeah, this is kind of pushed into the corner here. Now, someone asked earlier, doesn't the Terran Dominion do this kind of thing as well? Actually, yes. Not quite as extensively, but the Dominion never feeds an entire planet to the Zerg. And that's kind of the difference between the Confederacy and the Dominion. The Confederacy is, we're hideously evil and stupid about it. The Dominion is, we're hideously evil and smart about it. And that's really the distinction, I think, between the two. Not to dismiss the atrocities the Dominion does. Let's make that clear. But the Dominion will sacrifice a single little outpost to the Zerg, specifically to test the Zerg's adaptability and to develop new weapons and tactics against the Zerg. Whereas the Confederacy will say, let's drop the Zerg. We'll see the Zerg on a planet, of an entire planet of colonies, and just see what happens. Okay. Okay, the Zerg are killing people. Taking notes. Wait, let me get my... Okay, here we go. Taking notes. Yep, Zerg killing people. Okay, what else? Okay, they're eating people. Okay, what else? And they're what? Okay, I am actively being killed as I write this. Ow, please help. Thanks. Bye. I'm referring to the Terran Dominion from Starcraft, by the way. Now, obviously, I'm being a little disingenuous, but is that it? Yellow? Yeah. Okay. So this is a hold the line mission. This is, believe it or not, the first of the gimmick missions in the Starcraft ethos. We'll talk about that in just a moment, though.
Jacked up and good to go. Outstanding. Standing by. Go. Let's move. We can take cover in these bunkers if things get too dicey.
And honestly, that is kind of it. That is kind of the truth, Raskor. So yeah, this is a hold the line mission. 29 minutes of just hanging out. There's no way to win it early, so it's kind of boring, if I'm being honest. I gotta be 100% honest, when I first did this mission ever, way back, I just turtled in so hard that I actually got to the point, because I wasn't that good at the game at the time, that I had bad overlap on my own defenses. So I had like one exposed bunker out here which kept getting hit, and I'm like, no, and I didn't want to lose the bunker, and oh, I lost the bunker. Damn. Okay, whatever. But this is just, yeah. But like I said, believe it or not, this is one of the first gimmick missions in the history of the franchise. This is actually the second to 3 gimmick mission in the history of the franchise. The first one being the dungeon mission, which actually we'll be seeing next. But that happened back as early as Warcraft 1. In Warcraft 1, there were 2 types of missions: dungeon missions and standard. In Warcraft 2, there were basically just the standard ones. In Starcraft, they have standard. This is original Starcraft, not Brood War. They have the standard missions. We've already seen a couple of those. The dungeon missions, and this, which is Hold the Line. Now, the Hold the Line missions are pretty much exactly what they sound like. You're supposed to sit here and just endure rather than defeat the enemy. Now, I know that sounds really boring and dull nowadays, especially given how commonplace Hold the Line missions are. I mean, just ask Captain Kirihei. But you gotta understand, this was new when this came out. This was like, oh my god, you know, I can actually just sit here and win by defending? Yeah, that was I wouldn't say unheard of, but it was still a unique idea, and it was still fairly recent. Oh no, absolutely not. I'm not on fire. I think the UED was much worse than the Terran Dominion. And it's really sad when we've got 3 major Terran powers. One of them is the Confederacy, which, as I've already discussed, is evil and stupid. One of which is the Terran Dominions, which are incredibly evil and smart about it. And then we've got the UED, which are kind of in the in-between. They're sort of smart, but they're also incredibly dumb. So it's... And they're all horrible. Every single one of those organizations is horrible. The Terrans are bastards. Are you sure, Schmeidolf? I don't see any fire. What are you talking about? Let's go put this over here. So I suppose... Oh, right, I need to... I suppose we'll talk about the cow level thing. There's a cheat called There Is No Cow Level, which I'm only aware of because of the fact that it's the cow level cheat. Once upon a time... actually, Fearsome, they only do that when they're in the red. You notice how I'm not losing health on it. So... its health isn't moving. Terran structures only actually lose health when they're sufficiently low on health. It's actually a lore point. The idea is that the Terran structures are so poorly constructed, and well, I shouldn't say poorly. They're so volatilely constructed that when they're in low, you know, when they're damaged, they basically start to self-destruct. Yeah, Valerian's Dominion is the good Dominion. The only good Dominion ever. We'll see what happens to them next week. I hope something good happens to them. I will, however, admit that I actually rather like Valerian as a character, so I'm kind of biased on the matter. We'll go ahead and do one more, I think. Whoops. Well, not across the board. I mean, there are actually quite a few individuals of Terrans we meet that are pretty cool people. But the organizations, the government of the Terrans, tend to be pretty messed up.
Additional supply depots required.
Oh, right.
I read you. Reporting for duty.
Now, Valerian is actually a pretty good leader, in my opinion. The catch is... I just knew Fearsome. I've done this mission a few trillion times. The catch is whether or not he'll be able to maintain that leadership. I've said before, and I'll say it again. A dictatorship is not actually that bad. Yeah, actually, exactly, Omni. A dictatorship is not actually a bad in and of itself. There's 2 flaws with a dictatorship. Flaw 1 is the value of a dictatorship in terms of the good, evil, beneficial, harmful scale is solely dependent on the dictator. You have a good dictator, great. You have a bad dictator, bleh, right? The second problem is line of succession. Let's say you have Valerian, and he's a great leader. Like, seriously, let's just assume for a moment that Valerian is actually a good leader, and he actually maintains a good leadership policy throughout his new Terran Dominion. Okay, cool, I'm with that. What happens when inevitably he dies of old age? So... And yeah, that's the thing. As I will talk about when we get to the Terran Dominion discussion, side of this discussion, the one problem with the Terran Dominion is they really do get results. They are in a brutal, vicious, horrible setting, and they get stuff done. And that's one of the reasons why it's understandable why they are so brutally, fiscally horrible. Some people think they're evil just for evil's sake. I firmly disagree with this. It is much more clear to me, personally, that the Terran Dominion is evil in order to accomplish things, because, again, the whole ethics versus pragmatism debate. In other words, in real life, it's hard to be a good guy and still get stuff done. This is just reality, and that's no different in Starcraft. Raynor is probably one of the only exceptions to this, and he's a guy, not an organization. Hey, Dios! Vaya con Dios. Or wait.
I read you, sir.
Alright. Go!
I read you.
Go! Go! Now, that being said, I do personally think the Terran Dominion went way too overboard with the, we'll go ahead and deal with anything. Okay, kind of, but not really, true APM. There is some dissonance in this mission. I'm debating if I want to actually do that or not. I'm kind of leaning towards that direction. If I'm honest, I should go ahead and get a second barracks to really get that going. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta discuss something really quick. You know one thing that StarCraft did that was personally my first game that allowed you to do this? Control keys. Now, if you don't know what I mean, I'm going to select these guys and hit Control 1. And so I can do 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. This is, again, a completely normal thing nowadays. It is considered... It is considered default to have control keys in an RTS nowadays. But StarCraft was one of the first RTSs to actually do that. And like I said, it was my first RTS to include that as well. Also, rally points was another thing. Kind of primitive, but they exist. You can even set rally points while the building isn't even done yet. Who cares about them, Fearsome? So one thing that's kind of nice, they give you very few resources and an almost depleted Vespene Geyser to really, and they give you this almost no real estate down here at all to actually do anything. Let's move you up here. Now, I'm gonna want. Screw it. There is an upkeep mechanic was added in Warcraft 3. There is a population cap, which you can see in the upper right there, 30 to 74. This is also one of the games that allowed you to have a fairly large force, relatively speaking, while still limiting it. I would, Fearsome. Pass me another thing of marshmallows. And they, like, impale it on their gun and just kind of hold it out there. Now, here's an interesting little factoid for you. That's going to be 10, so I need 8 more. Or no, I need 6 more, so that's actually correct. The Terran Marine is like the default standard of currency for the Terran armies, and yet there's actually a lot of variance between what the Marines are across the different organizations. For example, most of these Marines you're seeing here are militia, which this is like all we have left militia-wise, which honestly is like virtually nothing in terms of actual armed forces. Most of what you see the Confederacy use are prisoners who have been pumped up with drugs, reprogrammed mentally, and oh, I have to actually repair the bunker now, I think.
Base is under attack.
No, not yet. Get over here. And handed a gun and said, "Let's go." There we go. And then we've got the Terran Marines of the UED, which are conscripts and career soldiers. And then we've got the Terran Marines of, the Emotion Protectorate, who are volunteer career soldiers, and so forth and so on. My point is, there's actually quite a few different sources of what the Terran Marine is. And it varies from force to force, which I find fascinating, personally. So now I need you guys to go over here. What the hells are you doing? Now, whatever. Let's go and get that second bunker going, because I want a second bunker. Yes, this will be going on YouTube, by the way. I'm not sure what I think of it, Chemic. See, the thing is, the original purpose in the population cap was to prevent the computer from overloading, basically. In other words, the engine would just kind of have issues functioning when too many units were on the screen. The funny thing is, we can see this. It is possible through custom maps to bypass the population cap, and it does react kind of badly, at least on the machines that were out at the time. Nowadays, I could totally have this massive 100 billion unit map, and it could run fine because I have a modern computer. But again, back in the day, that was the kind of thing that could wreck stuff, and again, can cause the code to act in some odd manners. That being said, I don't necessarily agree with it, and I definitely don't agree with it in modern games. It is interesting that Starcraft 2 still has that. Warcraft 3, of course, has the upkeep mechanic, which you'll notice they abandoned immediately, and have never gone back to. Also, one interesting thing about Starcraft, it doesn't have a lot of convenience features to it, for good and for bad. Okay, so that's gonna be 12.
Commander.
6, so yeah, that should be correct. In other words, no auto repair, no queuing up of construction, that kind of a thing, which we'll be showing off in Starcraft 2. One thing I found to be an interesting commonality is a lot of people hate Starcraft 2, and yet of the people who hate Starcraft 2, one of the most common things I hear is, I love the gameplay. Because StarCraft 2 is a very well-constructed game, in terms of pure game.
Base is under attack.
Oh yeah, we can do that. We don't got much else going on. There we go. You can kind of mess with the AI and pull them into clusters here. One of the fun things is, let's say a bunch of... one of the things that was interesting in StarCraft is the priority list. In other words, if you send a SCV and a military unit into the enemy, they will attack the military unit first. We'll be seeing this in a bit. Not in this mission. So, you know, I could be like, waha! And they're like, oh my god, go that. So it's actually easy to basically drag enemy units into a certain kill zone, in your defenses, because they'll be like, we'll attack the base, and then you'll have like one turret out there, and they'll be like, wait, a turret's attacking us, go to the turret, and they'll move closer to the turret because their AI tells them to move, even if they're in attack range, and then that'll bring them in range of other turrets, and you can see how you could drag enemies into a kill box like that.
Jacked up and good to go.
Alright.
Let's move.
I don't think I have enough units. I could probably do another one.
10 minutes until dropship arrival.
I read you. Orders received.
Well, that's what the Annihilation games are there for, Chemic.
You want to piece of me, boy?
Which one, Prog? Sorry. Whoop, whoop. Also, am I the only person who's always had a fondness of just the Marine in StarCraft? It's just such a default basic unit that somehow works surprisingly well. Ranged, fast attacking, you know. So, this is not the first game to do this. In fact, Warcraft 1 kind of toyed with this. Warcraft 2 is what really started this. The pissed sounds. That's actually what the file is referred to, pissed. In other words, you keep clicking on a unit and...
Jacked up and good to go. Standing by. We gotta move. Are you gonna give me orders? Oh my god, he's wet. I vote we frag this, Commander. How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit? You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
And then, of course, the SCVs have some of my favorites.
Orders, Captain?
Although it's mostly the SC2 SCVs.
I read you. Yes, sir. Orders, Captain? Yes, sir. Orders, Captain? Come again, Captain? I'm
You
not
want a
reading you
piece of me,
clearly.
boy?
You ain't from around here, are you? I can't believe they put me in one of these things. And now I gotta put up with this, too? I told them I was claustrophobic. I gotta get out of here. I'm stuck in here tighter than a frostbite
You want a piece of me, boy?
So I'm not sure what that phrase means, in case you didn't hear it, but he basically said, I'm strapped in here tighter than a frog's butt in a watermelon seed contest.
Let's move.
Alright, let's go have some fun.
Jacked up and good to go.
Base is under attack.
Oh no.
Orders, Captain? Affirmative.
Jacked up and good to go. Give me some to shoot. Commander, standing by.
Oh, gotcha. I haven't really been watching his Brood War stuff yet. I need to. I like Carbot stuff. That is correct, Kimmick. Okay, so Total Annihilation was the first of the Annihilation series of games. Supreme Commander and Supreme Commander 2 were the spiritual successors. Then they came out with Planetary Annihilation, and apparently there's another new one, which I wasn't aware of until recently. Yes, I have Tritium, and I agree, that's actually a really nice touch that they did that. It is kind of weird playing on what is effectively such a small screen for Starcraft 1.
Minutes until dropship arrival.
Yeah, we got this. So this is what we call gameplay story dissonance. Or segregation, if you prefer. In other words, instances where the story just does not actually make sense with regards to the gameplay. This is actually all over the place in StarCraft, and if I'm being honest, it makes sense why it is. I actually had a discussion about this not too long ago on my stream, and have since committed to making my own custom StarCraft 2 map that does the opposite of this, gameplay and story integration. But it boils down to this. In order to actually have units be balanced, you kind of have to throw the lore out the window, or have some kind of reason for all the units to be balanced in lore. Hang on. So, for example, we're just kind of crushing the Zerg advance here. We really shouldn't be. We should be, like, barely holding up as the Zerg swarm mulches us and just curb stomps us and destroys us, and is sending wave after wave of their troops at us, and we're like, oh god, oh god, oh god. That's what should be happening in lore. That is actually what's happening in lore when they recount the events of this battle. That's how it's always told. You know, barely getting out by the skin of our teeth kind of a situation. But as you can see, that's not what's happening. Now, again, we've taken a few losses, but I mean, this is pathetic. Yeah, Marsara held the line, and then the Protoss showed up and glassed the planet, because that's what the Protoss do. And the fact that the creep will eventually go away and leave the terrain unscathed, you know, that's another thing that just is gameplay story segregation. Again, I'm not sure how much I am willing to go against StarCraft for this, but let me point out one of the big reasons I bring this up. One of the things that I've been spoken negatively of is how I talk about how strong the Swarm is. And anytime I hear a naysayer say, well, the Swarm is pathetic, they say, I mean, think about how easily you're able to beat them in the missions. To which I'm like, well, yeah, that is actually valid. Yeah, pretty much, actually, Night Forager. The Borg, yeah, that's pretty much 1-to-1, really. But the idea here is, you know, you have two options when it comes to game design. You could make the characters and units exactly as strong as they should be, and risk making the game unfun, and of course it's difficult to code like that. Or you could try to balance things for, let's be honest with ourselves, PvP. And that's what they did. They tried to balance things for PvP. I'm not deriding PvP, but that is the defined reason. They wanted the competitive gameplay. And you should not actually... you shouldn't actually be having the I don't know. I'm not hugely in favor of it, I gotta be honest. But I do think that it is something very worth noting. As was pointed out, any of the cutscenes really distinguishingly show just how different the strength is between in lore and in gameplay. There's a cutscene that's one of my favorites where a Marine will actually go through effort to kill, you know, a few Zerglings and end up being taken down to him, and that's kind of similar. But the fact that an Ultralisk, for example, is just this unholy death machine in lore is another example of that. But you know, whatever. Anyways. Like I said, gameplay strength does not equal lore strength. That was the only point I wanted to make there. That is creep, Kemek. Don't worry, we'll learn about that later.
Your tenure as colonial magistrate is suspended.
No.
Pending an official investigation of your affiliation
But my
with the
catered
Sons of
dinners.
Korhal. Receiving incoming transmission.
Hey, man. Arcturus's boys sprung me from the prison ship. Apparently they're as frustrated with the Confederates as we are. I know their reputation, but they seem to be on the level. I think Arcturus wanted to speak with you.
Commander, Mar Sara is almost completely overrun by the Zerg. The Confederates are abandoning the planet, and so are we. However, there is one thing I'd like to do before we leave. I want you to raid this colony's Confederate outpost and retrieve whatever design or weapons schematics that you can find in their networks. With the chaos of the Confederates' evacuation, you shouldn't have any trouble getting in or out of their installation.
I'm into it.
Huh. Hello, Minsk. And what Fearsome said is true as well. The esports scene almost assuredly would not have taken off if not for the original Starcraft and that disparity I mentioned earlier. So, we've had tutorial mission, a tutorial mission, a your base versus their base mission where the enemy had very few resources. Actually, it was, I'm sorry, let me go with this. So we've had a tutorial mission, a your base versus the enemy, but they don't have a base mission, a hold the line mission, and this is our final type of unique mission, the dungeon missions.
Go ahead, Commander.
No reinforcements, no building, no resources, no nothing, just the units you have on hand. Now, I gotta be honest, back in the day, I sucked at these missions.
Oh, yeah.
I was not good at these ones. So yeah, some people ask, why is it that Raynor was so okay with this plan? As Bragwin just points out, the plan actually makes a fairly large amount of sense. We are on the run, on the gun, and we need to get every advantage we can possibly get in order to even the scales. Raiding a Confederate weapons depot on the way out makes perfect sense. As we know, that's not actually what we're here for.
Oh, yeah. Right on.
We are here for Zerg knowledge, and of course, the Psi Disruptor.
This should be good.
By the way, some of these missions in Brood War are phenomenal. Some of the best missions in Brood War are these style of missions.
Right on. This should be good.
Yeah, very much so, Kenrick.
Sounds fun. Right on. Sounds
One of the interesting things about these missions is they usually have bonuses to them, too. There's no resources, but in some cases if you... oh, excuse me, the emitter. You're right, the emitter, not the disruptor. In some of the missions, if you... hang on. If you... I mean, you have no reinforcements, you have no resources to rebuild. However, if you go out of your way to get a few side things, occasionally there will be, like, extra units there, or you can upgrade your units, like, I forget which mission, but there's one where you can turn some of your Marines into Goliaths. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, by the way, so one other thing they did kind of cool, they actually started this in Warcraft 2. The color of the units is actually indicative. You know, red is not just an arbitrary color. Red is specifically the color of the Sons of Korhal. And blue is specifically the color of this and that, blah, blah, blah. I forget all the colors off the hand, forgive me. But each of the Protoss, Zerg, and Terran organizations, hang on, that's driving me crazy, has a specific color that's tinted to this tribe, or this fleet, or this brood, or this organization. I think that's a nice touch and helps immediately visually distinguish everything. As an aside, one thing they did that's really cool in StarCraft original is they would always have the hero units have completely different colors than everything else, just to further visually distinguish the hero units from the other regular units. You'll notice Jimmy there, Mr. Raynor, is actually teal-colored rather than red like the rest of the Korhal. Whether or not that's lore relevant is up to you to decide, but the point of it is gameplay, to help distinguish that's the hero unit right there, so you can immediately tell which one it is. This would be further fleshed out, of course, in Warcraft 3, where they actually made hero units a thing. I guess that's it, but yeah. Hey, you're not allowed in here. Is that it in here? Looks like it. And of course, in StarCraft 2, most of the hero units have much differing stats than the regular units, but just some cool stuff. I don't remember, in all honesty, Equalitas. Okay, so I need to go up here. Trying to remember my way. I think I need to... Yeah, up here, up here. No! Gosh darn it. Freaking teleporters. Get back on the teleport pad. So, favorite faction in lore. I gotta be honest, that's a tough one. I love the Protoss. They're so single-minded and stupid and have a great culture and history and have great characters, and I love the Protoss. The Zerg are fascinating, both the Swarm Zerg and the non-Swarm Zerg. Are you kidding me, Fearsome? Do you have any idea how many UMS maps I made? For those of you not aware, UMS stands for Use Map Settings. In other words, a custom map. A lot of people did a lot of fun stuff with that. That's also how MOBAs started with Eon of Strife. So, you know, anybody who likes any MOBA game ever, you owe that to the UMS settings, or the UMS style of map. The favorite faction gameplay-wise is a little easier. In the original StarCraft, I tended to lean very heavily on the Protoss. I was really good at Protoss. Back when I used to actually do competitive multiplayer, which I used to do a lot of in Brood War, specifically. And I loved Protoss, and I was damn good at them. And not just because of carrier spam. I had a lot of good stuff with that. The Terrans are my favorite in StarCraft 2, and that remains true to this day. But it was worth noting that I will say in StarCraft 2, I really like basically all of the factions in terms of pure gameplay.
You rebel scum.
They're not scum. So those are Zerg.
Believe it. I saw Zerg with the Confederate holding pens myself, and that was over a year ago. It's clear the Confederates have known of these creatures for some time. For all we know, they could be breeding the things. Be that as it may, our priority here is accessing the Confederate network. We'll deal with the Zerg another day.
So that attitude right there is interesting, and actually indicative of one of Mengska's strongest flaws. He tends to get fixated. He's got an arrogance problem, just like everyone is in that level of power does. But his biggest problem is he tends to really focus. He gets tunnel vision. This is my goal, and even though other things are here and they may matter to me and they may be relevant long term, I don't care. This is my goal. This is actually why he makes the biggest mistake he makes throughout the course of the games, which we'll talk about when we get there. But I mention that because that's indicative. He's like, oh, the Zerg are here. No. Any intelligent person would be like, oh god, the Zerg are here. The Confederacy are working with the Zerg. His response is, no, we're here for stuff from the networks. I don't remember which way to go. I think I need to go this way.
This should be good.
That's also, well, we'll get to that when we get to that.
This should be good.
Go.
Oh yeah.
Now, he's also about to say something that is either him being stupid or him spin doctoring. We're not sure which of these it is, to be honest, and we may never know. I originally believed he was just spin doctoring. It's worth noting I also still believe that. But I have heard strong arguments that Mengsk is simply delusional. I don't buy that personally. I've never seen Mengsk as a delusional individual, someone who is self-deluded and just completely unconnected with reality. I think he's more driven. No, Fearsome. They made 3 games before that, I believe. That would be Blackthorn, Racing, whatever, and Lost Vikings. Freaking traps.
Teleportation field activated.
Oh yeah, the Terrans have access to very limited teleportation technology. There are actually some hints about why this is throughout the course of the games, and there's basically two possible answers here. Answer number one, Duran, who, as we've already established, is someone who has a vested interest in the Terrans and has absolutely been involved with their activities, at least since the UPL era, so for centuries, right? Second answer, one of the things that we find, I should say, found in the Kapulu sector was a lot of Protoss ruins, which they were able to work on and extrapolate from, so it's entirely possible. They had the Asari thing, they had the jump start, not just because of the tech from the Atlas computer on the Naglfar, but they also had the jump start because they had access to Protoss technology, which they were able to reverse engineer. We don't know which one of these is true. I don't think it matters. It is also worth noting it could easily be both. But I mention it because their teleportation technology is super limited. It is actually the most limited type of teleportation technology that exists, aka you have to have a jump point in the at the first spot, a jump point at the second spot, and you can only go between these two things, and only in limited quantities. So, not the most useful thing in the universe. Yes. In the intro, Kamek. And in the timeline. Absolutely.
Hey, we found the plans, man. Have the transports waiting when we come out.
Well, it would be awesome if we saw a StarCraft first-person shooter. Where we play as, I don't know, some kind of rogue ghost who... I think StarCraft would fit a lot of genres, to be honest with you. I could see a StarCraft RPG. I would love a StarCraft 4X. I could see a StarCraft first-person shooter, you know, all joking aside, or a third-person action game, Assassin's Creed style, or God of War style, or Devil May Cry style, you know, that kind of action-fighting thing, which I think would really suit it if you're playing, for example, a Protoss or a Zerg. Words. StarCraft Ghosts. We'll talk about StarCraft Ghosts at some point in the future. In the wake of the chaos resulting from the Zerg invasion, the sons of Korhal escaped with the stolen data disks. Fleeing to the border world of Antigua Prime, Arcturus' group now plans its next crucial moves against the Confederacy. 13 hours after the evacuation of Marsara, Protoss warships took up orbit around the colony and unleashed a massive planetary bombardment. All life on the surface was extinguished. Dating sim, Night Forager.
Hey, man. Headquarters has begun analysis of the discs. They expect to have them decoded shortly. I hope whatever's on those discs is worth it.
Receiving incoming transmission from Arcturus Minsk.
You and Captain Reyna have done well, Commander. I believe our efforts have weakened the Confederacy's grip on the fringe worlds. But our job out here isn't done yet. Lieutenant Kerrigan, my second in command, will elaborate.
I'll get straight to the point. Our sources tell us that Antigua Prime is ready to begin open revolt against the Confederacy. Unfortunately, the Confederates seem to be aware of this as well. They've stationed a large detachment of Alpha Squadron troops there, under the command of General Duke.
It will be your job, Commander, to free this colony and show our good intent to the Antiguan people. Lieutenant Kerrigan will help you deal with Duke's officers. The rest of the Confederates are yours to deal with.
What is SC2VN, Fearsome? So, a couple points here. As was pointed out by Bragwin in the chat, Minsk is still just not even thinking about the Zerg. Focusing. This is why I call him tunnel vision. He is smart. He has the capacity to think long term. He is charismatic, but he is very tunnel vision-y. It's the Confederacy. One of the biggest flaws, as I mentioned earlier, is that tunnel vision. And the problem is, he's not quite tunnel visioning on his own power base. I know that sounds weird, because we know for a fact that... just tell me what it is, Fearsome. We know for a fact that Minsk is power hungry. We know that he wants that kind of power. We know he craves being on top of the heap. I would argue Mengsk is one of those weird exceptions. I've talked before about two kinds of leaders. There's the kind of leader who wants to rule, and the kind of leader who wants the benefits of rule. And there are a few that are both. A dating sim about Korean pro gamers. I will not be playing that. Mengsk is both, in my opinion. He does want to rule. He wants to be the one on top of the heap. He's got that Palpatine thing going for him. But he also wants the benefits of rule. And part of that is probably because of his old family standing, but part of it is also because of his, again, arrogance. His desire to be at the top of the heap because he feels things are owed to him, because that's how he was raised. Now, the other thing that I find interesting, though, about this, he's always trying to spin doctor, even to his own troops. You notice the way he was talking there. We must show how I believe our efforts have weakened the Confederacy's grip on the fringe worlds. What efforts? You have managed to rescue a fairly large number of colonists and militia and gotten a new commander named Matt Horner under your command, and that's it. And then you abandoned a world to be annihilated by the Zerg. How exactly have you struck a blow against the Confederacy? You get the spin doctrine, you get the statesman kind of thing, even this early. I also want to point out one other thing that is both subtle and has been confirmed to be deliberate. The good guys in this story are named Sarah and James. The bad guy's name is Arcturus, aka the simple, down-to-earth names are the good guys, and the complicated name is the bad guy. So, I mentioned earlier well, I'll talk about that after we meet Kerrigan.
Sounds fun.
Captain Raynor, I finished scouting out the area and... You pig!
What? I haven't even said anything to you yet.
Yeah, but you were thinking it.
Oh, yeah. You're a telepath. Look, let's just get on with this, okay?
Right. Lieutenant Kerrigan reporting.
Yeah, it is very an Eris and Bob situation. Yes, Arshane guy is a bad guy. Lorerunner's okay, though.
I gotcha. Thinking the same thing. I hate these things. They can sense me even when I'm cloaked. We should take these out.
Yes, I know, fearsome. I'm well aware. Alright, so... I don't even know where to start with talking about Kerrigan. Let's talk about the mission and stuff first. So, let's go over the order again really quick, for those of you who aren't paying attention and or have ADD. First mission, tutorial. Second mission, a slightly more expanded tutorial. Third mission, you have a base, the enemy does not. Fourth mission... Hang on just a second.
This is Jimmy.
Is that... I.
Sounds fun. This should be good.
Oh wow, that's some range. Alright, whatever. Go, my faceless minions! Anyways, so we've got tutorial, expanded tutorial, you have a base and they don't. Hold the line, and then a mission against, a dungeon mission. This particular map introduces two niggles into the way things work. First of all, you have a base and the enemy has a base. So this is actually our very first default mission.
I gotcha.
This is the very first mission where it's just, us versus them, no variances. And this will be the norm for most of Starcraft, the original Starcraft, regardless of species. The second thing is this introduces flying units to the map. Now, flying units were not new to RTSs. Warcraft 2, for example, had flying units that were terrible, but they tried to balance flying units out, and the result is most of the flying units are terrible. So, hey, I guess they worked out. Don't get me wrong, flying units could be good against other flying units, and in very specific circumstances, flying units could be very useful, but for the most part, flight units are just kind of inferior to ground troops in StarCraft, which I find hilarious. Infamously, the battle cruisers, unless you know how to Yamato spam, are just kind of pointless. And now that being said, you can actually swarm with Mutalisks, and of course there's always carrier spam, which we all know about, but I just think it's interesting how they downplayed the flying units of this, like, quite a bit. So how many people have been playing this game, especially competitively, and you hear this sound, but you're the one being attacked, and you don't have a detector up? How many people have had that situation? You just start hearing this, and it's like, ah, where is it? Where is it? That is the sound of your own demise. Although there is a worse sound, and that sound is nuclear launch detected. And in the original Starcraft, I don't know about you guys, but I always had trouble finding the dot.
I'm waiting on you. It'd be a pleasure.
So, I think that's enough.
This is Jimmy.
Get up there.
I'm waiting on you.
There we go.
I'm taking care of business on this end, Commander. I think the Antigans are ready to back us up, too.
That's right. We've tolerated these Confederate goons long enough.
Base is under attack.
Kind of Chemic. Not nearly as bad, or as devastating, but yes.
Yes, sir?
So I suppose the answer is actually yes. So, we have a base, they have a base. Our base is, of course, incredibly badly designed. So we're going to set it up a little bit differently here. We know very little of the Antigans lore-wise, other than two things, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Advancing on our position.
Well, they're not wasting any time.
Commander, rock and roll.
SCV good to go.
This is the other reason I call these the default mission, because the default mission objective is always the same. Wipe out the enemy base. Now, that being said, there are actually a few missions which kind of cheat. In other words, there are several missions, especially Protoss missions, where you have a base, they have a base, and the objective is not actually to destroy their base, it's to destroy one building in their base. And so with clever tactics, you can just kind of slide in and be like, burp, and take out the base, and that's the end of it. That's a good question, Dios. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that one. What are we up to? 3, 4,
Reporting for duty.
5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 more.
I read you.
Where are we at? We're good on supply right now.
Orders received.
And now,
Good to go, sir.
a word from our sponsors. You should buy this. Please give me money. Just a heads up, I'm going to be pausing right about lunch, not just to eat, but because it's the little one's birthday.
Orders, Captain.
Now, she's off doing birthday things,
Affirmative. I read
but, you know, I'm going to give her a call and be like, hi.
Jacked up and good to go. Jacked up and good to go. Outstanding.
Not enough minerals.
Nice.
good to go, sir.
Remember, guys, the more you support Dr. Pepper,
Sir.
well, nothing actually changes that. Hey, I'm already way behind on this, Fearsome. I have to beat 4 games by next Tuesday.
SCV good to go, sir.
But yes, it is Mini Zan's birthday today. Logs of love? So, like, you concentrate the love into log format. Do you chop it? Do you, like, do you burn it then? Is that a fuel source? Is love a fuel source now? Funnily enough, there are actually settings where love is a fuel source. So I'm going to just be honest with you guys. Other than tanks, I hate factories. My most common strategy with the Terrans is to completely ignore factories, unless I'm setting up siege tanks for whatever reason. So, I'm just gonna get those off my map.
SCV good to go, sir.
I'm taking notes of the many birthday wishes I'm receiving here. And by that I mean I'm not writing down specific names because I'm a terrible person, but I'm up to 12 people so far. 5? Starcraft, Brood War, Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm. That sounds like 4 to me.
Yes, sir.
Many more birthday wishes of awesome. Right.
Reporting for duty. Affirmative.
Jacked up and good to go.
My goodness, so many birthday wishes. Hang on, so that's... we're up to 19 now. Meanwhile, some people in chat are like, who the heck is Minizan?
You want a piece of me, boy?
Which makes me sad. Yeah, we'll go and do this now. Probably not Night Forger. I mean, I might, you know, challenge you to a duel to the death, but I wouldn't be offended. Insurrection... How would insurrection count, exactly? I mean, I don't want to sound dismissive, but seriously.
SCV good to go, sir.
Sweet, Dragon. Damn you, Tracker! How could you? Beep, boop, destroy, destroy. God, she is so adorable.
SCV good to go, sir.
She is turning 3 today. Where's my phone? Phone's right here. It's on the charger. Ah.
SCV good to go, sir.
You have yet to see my daughter on camera. You have seen my niece on camera many times.
SCV good to go, sir.
I'll have to tell her that later, I suppose.
Yes, sir. Roger that. Orders received. Orders, Captain. Did I read you?
I kind of missed the idle SCVs button, too. That was a nice touch. Where? Ah, whatever.
SCV good to go, sir.
My daughter turns 12 this year. There you are. Yeah, there's a spare one somewhere.
Affirmative. Right away, sir.
In about 2 weeks, actually.
Insufficient phosphine gas.
I am Night Forger. I'm waiting for you to tell me, dude.
Orders, Captain.
You gonna tell me, Night Forger?
For duty.
Or are we gonna have to get personal? Because now I can't pop my knuckles.
SCV good to go, sir.
Ah, Chuck E. Cheese's. Those were simpler days.
Rock and roll.
Left one.
Reporting for duty. Orders, Captain.
Oh, we are, yeah. One thing that some people like is the fact that StarCraft 2 simplified the the resource collection process. You could just be like, you know, rally point onto the minerals and make SCVs, and they'll figure out where to mine optimally. And it'll also keep track of how many SCVs is optimal for the mine. Similarly for the Vespene, you could have 3 on each Vespene. In SC1, that's not actually true. There are variables to what is the optimal resource gathering strategy. For example, you notice I'm not doubling up on SCVs, even though I can. And I don't need to in this one. I already have a glut of resources going on here.
Reporting for duty. I'm finished.
You're gonna have to explain that one to me, Night Forger, because I have no recollection of the E being retrofitted specifically for Nemesis. Like, what was different about it? You get up there. You're already in there. We'll go ahead and get this going, get some energy flow going right now. No. What I do want is some of these. That much of those, 100 each, so... I have yet to have that problem for Mosin.
Add-on complete.
Wow, you're an old fogey, Fearsome. My goodness. How do you live with yourself?
Yes, sir?
I'm kidding, by the way.
Go ahead, Commander. Attack formation.
I honestly didn't know that they changed anything with it. I didn't notice at all. I feel kind of stupid for not noticing that. Yeah, I actually meant to point that out, Triopium, and I totally spaced it. Thank you. One of the things I like about that is you, the player, always have a default color, so... What's the frickin'... It's S, apparently. You always have a default color. This is always your color, right? So, we are the Sons of Korhal, red. But, and so all the units we are producing are now Sons of Korhal units, and yet the original units of the Antigans are purple. And, of course, the Confederacy, specifically Alpha Squadron, are white down there. I believe you, Kevin. So this is a strategy I like to do on this mission, pretty much just for fun while I get my main force ready to go. 8? 6? Shoot, I don't remember.
Base is under attack.
Oh no, we're under attack, guys.
I read you. Job's finished.
Upgrade complete.
Right, I need to go here to do that, don't I? Sorry, still getting to the strategy, I swear. That should be enough. So we're going to send a single Wraith over. An Antiguan Wraith, of course, because they're expendable. Oh my god, no! The Confederacy is... Oh, hey, look!
Can I take your order?
Coordinates received.
Gotcha, Night Forger. Well, cool. There's one positive thing to Nemesis. My goodness.
I read you.
Reporting in.
Yes, sir? I read you.
Standing by.
Destination?
Yes, sir?
Input coordinates.
It's 8. It's 8. Couldn't remember.
Input coordinates.
Yeah, they kind of fiddle with the colors a little bit between expansions, although that makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't they, right? I'll make another turret. Why not?
I read you.
We don't really need to scan anymore, but yeah, sure, why not? And one more, just for fun.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Upgrade complete.
We will not be doing stim packs, because we don't have medics, and also because stim packs are a horrible thing in lore. Yes, that's right, my not using stim packs thing wasn't just unique to StarCraft 2. I didn't do that in StarCraft 1 either. Because I'm a weirdo.
Coordinates.
So, one of the great things about Terran units is, or excuse me, Terran buildings is most of them can fly. Which means as long as you... Terrans basically are the perfect example of the beachhead philosophy, aka... As long as you can get that beachhead, you can just expand from there.
Transmit coordinates. Attack formation. Coordinates received. Attack formation. Roger.
Now, one of the interesting things about especially several of these earlier
Base
missions
is under attack.
is the enemy is actually designed to be at a disadvantage. Yes, I am, Triopium. Oh, you guys haven't... Okay, hang on. Let me actually pull up what stim packs can be like. Because it's like the first page on the thing. It's great. These inbuilt chemical delivery systems dose Marines with a powerful mix of synthetic adrenaline, endorphins, and a psychotropic aggression enhancer. Marines on stims benefit from greatly increased speed and reflexes, but are subject to long-term side effects including, and not limited to, insomnia, weight loss, mania, hypomania, seizures, paranoid hallucinations, internal hemorrhaging, and cerebral deterioration. Yeah, no, screw stim packs, basically. Drugs are bad, I believe is how that goes. I'll get a couple more of that real quick.
Standing by. Go ahead, Commander. Coordinates received.
Yeah, stim packs, I literally I've always refused to use stim packs. It's actually affected my competitive gameplay back in Brood War quite a bit. But as I said, I mained Protoss in Brood War, so it wasn't a huge factor for me. When I was doing the Wings of Liberty lore run that I did forever ago, I had a lot of people show up and make fun of me because I refused to use stim packs. They're like, why aren't you stimming? It's like, oh yeah, they also have aggression inhibitors, which can be overloaded, by the way. Okay, so let's get these guys into position. I could just swarm them with a lot more troops, but screw that. I want to slide in here.
Hang on, we're in for some chops.
Do.
Yourself in, boys. Buckle up.
Yeah, they're gonna die. Too much of a response. Oh well. Good deal with the rest of them.
Coordinates received.
God, that Goliath AI. Look at that! They can't even walk in a straight line. That's fantastic. I love that. Okay, hang on. They had too much of a response. I wasn't ready for that. Usually they don't respond initially like that. I'm a little surprised by that.
I'm listening. Strap yourself in, boys.
Reporting in.
We'll go a little heavier in this time. That's a good question, True APM. I have gotten through Brutal without stim packs, by the way.
You want a piece of me, boy?
And by through Brutal, I mean to a certain ways into Brutal. I have never actually beaten all of Wings of Liberty on Brutal, I'll freely admit that. I have beaten Heart of the Swarm on Brutal. Not Wings. Wings is pretty bad on Brutal. Do we have... Oh, we got tons of bank right now. So, okay, question for you guys. Favorite music in StarCraft 1 specifically? Basically, I don't need a specific song, but like Terran, Protoss, Zerg.
You want a piece of me, boy? Standing by.
The lava level. Oh, God. A lot of people saying Terran. If for me, it is actually Protoss, but oh, Terran music is so good.
Commander.
So good, you guys. That being said, I really like several of the Zerg songs as well. I like all three of them, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would be Protoss. So the funny thing about base missions like this one is this is effectively a standoff. They literally lack the ability to actually bring us down. Like, they cannot overwhelm our defenses. We actually have way too many advantages when it comes to the terrain. And they are at way too much of a disadvantage. But at the same time, getting that beachhead is kind of annoying. Hey, Deutsch! Deutsch? It's Minizan's birthday today. Just saying. I think so, Tracker. I'm not sure about that. Wait. That doesn't count, Fearsome. So I totally misread that, Deutsch. Are you okay? I thought you said something a lot more mild than an accident. Are you okay? Is she okay? Is everyone okay? We're okay, right? Everything's okay here. We're all fine here, thanks. How are you? Seriously, though.
Attack formation. Roger. Attack formation.
Ah, damn it. They've just got that set up now. That's okay, I can make that work.
Coordinates received. Attack formation.
Your
Coordinates
forces
received.
are under attack.
Vector locked in. Attack formation. Coordinates received. Roger. Attack formation.
No, Fearsome.
Coordinates received.
Reporting for
I refuse on principle. It's against my religion to play that song.
Vector locked in.
Bye! That's the other great thing about baiting. The AI is smart enough in StarCraft to know how to load units onto a transport to get it over spaces they can't. So they'll be like, oh wait, we've been attacked! Quick! Quick, bring a dropship! And then you bait them into the turrets and they die. That being said, there we go. The AI in StarCraft is interesting, isn't it? For those of you who didn't play RTSs back in the day, there was one thing that everyone hated about RTSs. Can anyone guess what that is before I just tell you? Can anyone lay it on me? Let's go.
Go ahead, HQ.
See you around, Night Forager.
Your forces are under attack.
I copy that. Input coordinates.
Bingo! Pathfinding. Pathfinding was the bane of all RTSs back in the day, and it was terrible. You had to literally babysit units in order to get them where they wanted to go. And it was bad in more than a few occasions. So, it's funny that I say this because nowadays we actually make fun of the pathfinding in StarCraft. But the pathfinding in StarCraft was actually revolutionary for the time. This was one of the best designed games in terms of AI pathfinding of the era. You know, and I remember personally being like, oh my god, I can actually hit move to this location, and eventually, they'll actually get there. Seriously, that was mind-blowing at the time. Now obviously that is no longer an issue nowadays. StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 basically have solved the pathfinding issue, but man. Yes, I know, Case now. I'll look at it later. Probably when I'm doing the lunch thing and wishing people happy birthday. By the way, funny fact, it is Minizan's birthday, of course. It is also my mother's birthday today. Would you believe that? Same day. I often joked that this was her birthday present 3 years ago.
I'm listening.
I read you.
Destination. Strap yourselves in, boys.
Up too far down. There. Oh, I know. Dragoons and Goliaths both. They just have like a different pathfinding than everything else, I swear. Actually, I have a theory as to why Dragoons and Goliaths specifically are just so terrible at pathfinding. Funnily enough, the artillery of the Reavers for Protoss have the same problem when it comes to pathfinding. It's hilarious. Hey, Samu. I was right, it is too far south. There we go.
Give me something to shoot.
Oh, we have our beachhead.
I'm listening.
So, another question for you guys. Speaking specifically of the Terran missions in the original StarCraft, the one I'm playing right now, what's your favorite Terran mission? I know what mine is immediately. Oh, flying building is such an awesome concept. But yeah, now that we have a beachhead, this fight is basically over.
Destination?
We've also cut off one of their two resource arteries. This one? I do like this one. It's a fun one. The final one is also a lot of fun. Terran versus Terran. And, pretty damn hard, in my honest opinion. That's another really good one when you rescue the NORAD 2. That's coming up pretty soon, Trapium. Wait, hang on. I need 8, so... Wait, that's wrong. 6. God, use your brain, Arsh. See, in StarCraft 2, the standard unit currency is 8, but in this one it's 6, so I keep getting thrown by that. Actually, I believe it comes around because of... well, okay. The first time I ever heard the term beachhead was with regards to Normandy. In other words, you literally needed to get troops on land from a naval invasion in an invading force. And in order to actually do so, you needed to manage to get on the beach and have the beachhead. I don't know if it was a term before that. It probably was. Naval warfare is not exactly new. Oh no! The one spot I built turrets at earlier, specifically because I knew they'd be coming there. I've played this mission a few times. I may not be that good at games, but I know a lot of these original StarCraft missions very well. Yeah, my bank is huge right now, Fearsome. So why didn't you like it, Grewolf, if you don't mind my asking? Other than the fact that you're rescuing Duke. I gotta be honest, the moment we were rescuing Duke, that's the moment where I'm like, wait, we're doing what? When I was originally playing this. On the, back in the day, which was a Tuesday. So, some people like to do the behind-the-walls strategy. It's one of the funny things because when you're fighting AI opponents, you can use different tactics. Because the AI will never think to go behind your defensive lines. So you can actually set up defensive lines. When you were doing this competitively, you couldn't actually do defensive lines in the strictest sense of the word. Oh, ridiculously valuable, Fearsome. Like, way more valuable than any other thing we have in the world. Hey, Jolteon. I'll just bank it for later, Tracker. So, you know, when you're playing competitively, and again, like I said, I did this a lot as Protoss in Brood War, if you're going to do defenses at all, which in many cases you wouldn't, you like intersperse them. Like, the base design is so weird, and bothers the crap out of me, if I'm being honest, because of my sense of aesthetics and symmetry. No, dropped him. This is literally as big as it gets. I have a tiny window to look at, just like you do. So you have this base design where there's like defenses literally right next to a barracks, literally right next to a factory, trying to limit the amount of space that an enemy can slide in and attack behind your line, basically. But against the enemy, you can just they'll always come straight at you. So, oh, that would be awesome, Sharker. Terrifying, but awesome. So you can do the same thing against the AI. You can just slide in behind their lines or push a single hole through their defensive lines and then just kind of, you know, wreck them, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm completely ignoring most of their defenses by doing what I'm doing here. Also, fun fact, that whole saving resources for later thing. So, you guys know I'm a role player. I think that's pretty obvious by now, since I've said it 1,000 times and you guys have seen me play many times. I used to roleplay in Warcraft 2, that all the resources I took would be used for the furthering of whatever, well the Horde, because I played the Horde. It would be furthering for the Horde. So in other words, I wouldn't just take the resources I needed in order to, to win the map. I would take the resources to win the next map and the next map. I had this whole internal story thing going on about how, the Horde was expanding past just the front lines of what I was playing. And so we're just charging through, and I needed to really strip mine every map of every last scrap of resource to fuel the war machine. And I used to spend longer on maps than I otherwise would just to get all those resources for no reason, basically, because I'm a weirdo. Thank you, Samu. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm also glad you liked the voice acting. Even though I probably spent too much time trying to figure out Papyrus's voice and failing at it. So that should be victory. Oh, nope, to one turret. Okay, now that should be victory. We win! Yeah, pretty much, Leander. Ooh.
It appears that the Confederates are in a state of panic about the Antiguan revolt. I'm picking up a high number of Confederate transmissions going back and forth between their outposts and their headquarters on Tarsonis. Most of the transmissions are heavily coded, but wait, here's something.
There's a General Duke calling from Alpha Squadron flagship NORAD 2. We've crash-landed and are being hit hard by the Zerg. Request immediate backup from anyone receiving this signal. Repeat, this is a Priority 1 distress call.
Zerg? Here? Serves them right. About time they got a taste of what it's like to be in there mixing it up.
Jim, I want you to move in and save that base.
I'm positive I didn't hear that right.
Arcturus, have you lost your mind?
Listen, I know Duke's a cold-hearted bastard, but an entire colony shouldn't have to suffer for that. Besides, a Confederate general could prove to be a powerful ally. This is an opportunity we cannot miss.
I don't like this at all.
I'm not asking you to like it. I'm asking you to do it.
Yes, sir.
Great. Let's get this over with.
Couple points. First of all, the Zerg are here for Kerrigan. I'll talk more about that later. But I mention it because Kerrigan is mentioned several times as being basically the most powerful psionic human ever, up to this point in history. And it makes sense that, given their desire for the whole Overmind backup plan, they would want the most powerful psionic human they could find. So they're not just here after the ghosts. They're here after her, but again, I'll talk more about that later. Second point of note, what we have here is actually kind of an interesting ethical dilemma. If you have a hated enemy who is under assault by a third party who is both your enemy and theirs, do you think it is ethical to try and save them, or do you think it is ethical to leave them to rot and die? No, Brigwin, I don't think he does at all. In fact, I would almost bet money that he doesn't, given certain circumstances later, but... So what's the ethical ramifications here? Is that right or wrong? Now, I know, pragmatism and war is war and blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking purely from an ethical standpoint. I do think it's actually interesting that Rayner is totally okay with leaving Duke here to rot and die, probably with some poetic justice involved in that. I mentioned that because Rayner's actually he has a really good heart, all things considered. And yet, one of the interesting things is Rayner in StarCraft 2 and Rayner in StarCraft 1 are both fairly different people. And I know that's a point of contention among some people who don't like StarCraft 2, so forgive me for pointing out that Well, I don't think that's a retcon. I don't think it's a retcon to have Raynor's character have changed such as it is, especially since the beginning of that character change actually happens in Brood War. See, in StarCraft, in the original thing, yeah, Raynor is a lot more flawed of a character, I think is the way I want to put that. He has a fairly large amount of, fairly pragmatic, cynical, eye for an eye mentality. He's just, he's totally okay with raiding the Confederate weapons facility. He's totally okay with leaving Duke to his own ends. He's totally, blah, blah, blah. He's not really what you'd call a good guy. And yet he gets swept up with Tassadar. And I'll talk more about this later, but I personally feel that him and his interactions with Tassadar are part of what start enabling the idealism that is in him naturally to exist. Remember, Raynor is not a bad guy, but he's someone who's been crapped on a lot. We find out a decent amount about his backstory. The fact that, but remember, before all of this started, he was actually basically a train robber who hung out with someone like Tychus Findlay. We actually have a pretty good idea of what Raynor was like prior to StarCraft, because Tychus is what Raynor was like. And Tychus actually comments on the fact that Raynor is so different now, not just because he went legit because of the Marshall thing, but also because of the events of StarCraft, the events of Brood War, and the events of the 4 years between there. So Raynor just kind of did this with his character arc. He has a fairly large and extensive character arc. It's one of the reasons I hope he still has a role in Legacy of the Void, which we'll find out next week. But it's significant here because, again, the eye for the eye mentality is still a strong part of his perspective. And he's not really thinking long-term, and he's not really thinking about the ethics of the situation. Not at this point in time. At this point in time, he's one of those kind of people who's like, yeah, let him burn. Screw him. Let's be honest with ourselves, though, that is not a good perspective, a good perspective. That is not thinking of it as, I'm here to help people or to take care of people. That is a screw them, it's their problem kind of a mentality. I find this interesting for two reasons. Number one, as I've said before, I don't think Duke is actually that bad of a character. He is certainly self-absorbed and self-interested, but he's not that evil. He is not that over the top. He's born with a golden spoon in his mouth. So abandoning him and his men and the colony to the Zerg, I wouldn't even have to hesitate to make that decision. Yes, let's go! Go! Save them! I don't care if it's frickin' Duke, let's go! And yet Raynor's the guy who talks against that. And yet Kerrigan talks against that too. I also point that out because that's the first note of solidarity between Kerrigan and Raynor. I will actually talk about the relationship between Kerrigan and Raynor later on. Some people think it is inconsistent between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. While that is a true fact, I don't think it is an improper inconsistency, and I will explain why when we get there. I personally feel that Kerrigan and Raynor's relationship makes perfect sense, the way it evolves between 1 and 2. And again, I'll talk more about that later. But see, the thing that Rasker points out is I feel like Raynor at this point in life is still a fairly dark person. And I think his interactions with Mengsk and the Dominion, and then the Conclave, because he sees what the Conclave is willing to do, and he sees what an alien race's leaders are willing to do. I think that's what really starts pushing Raynor towards trying to redeem himself, trying to be a better person. Because we notice in Brood War, he's officially like a good guy as of Brood War. His character development has officially started pushing forward in Brood War, and he's like, okay, I need to start actually doing something. He basically becomes an adventurer, teaming up with people regardless of race, regardless of faction, just to get things done. It is also worth noting that's probably one of the reasons he gets so pissed off as to say the things he does against the Queen of Blades during that particular mission on Core Hall in Brood War. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. After this mission, we're going to break for lunch, just a heads up.
This should be good.
Music. So, funny little fact about StarCraft. This is true in Warcraft as well. If you can capture all these buildings and units individually, or you could just capture the command center and everything is yours, like immediately. It's a nice little touch, and made it a lot more convenient to take a base, basically. Where are my guys? There they are.
Right away, sir.
I could cheat. I haven't really felt the need to yet. I might later, just to speed things up.
Calling online.
Depends on how far... Basically, here's the idea, guys. I'll go ahead and let you out. Because we're starting the lore run 3 days late, I meant to start this several days ago. If I feel like I'm falling behind... If I feel like I'm falling behind, then I'm going to go ahead and start cheating to push through missions. At least in StarCraft 1. I have no desire to cheat in StarCraft 2. I actively do not want... I can turn the difficulty down in StarCraft 2 if I have to. But I can't do that in 1, so I might cheat in 1. Again, we'll see how it works out. We do have a lot of game to get through in the next less than a week. Okay, so this is a fun mission. So, there's the NORAD 2, there's their burning buildings, and you've got these guys to set them up. And it's actually kind of fun because you can actually repair the NORAD 2, but it costs Vespene to do so. So, we can't actually do that yet.
Not enough minerals.
There you are. Fun thing is, some people, when we were first announced the StarCraft Lorerun, were like, "Wait, so you're going to play through Wings of Liberty?" And are you, Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty? I'm like, "No, guys, I'm playing through everything." And everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're going to play the original StarCraft?" I got to be honest, I was super enthused about going back and replaying through StarCraft. I love StarCraft 2, but I also love the original StarCraft. I have a huge enthusiasm for this game, and so I'm looking forward to the remainder of this. Now, the funny thing, this mission design is actually interesting. This is still a, your base versus their base mission, for all intents and purposes, and yet it does have a twist. The first twist is it's actually easier. It is. You're not actually trying to defeat the enemy, although you can and indeed arguably should. Unless you're doing the distraction tactic, which I will not be doing. But your actual goal is to get here, and they actually give you control of the people you're defending. Now, this is kind of rare. Back in the day, there were plenty of, defend the spot or defend the person, escort kind of missions like this one is. And yet, this one is unique in the fact that you actually have control over the groups that you're defending. So you can set up their defenses, you can repair them, you can get them going. You're not reliant on an AI, which is an idiot, in order to keep itself alive. And I think that's actually really fun, and one of the reasons why I actually enjoy this mission. Someone earlier, when I mentioned favorite Terran missions, mentioned this as one of their favorites, and I think that's one of the big reasons why. If you didn't have control over them, this mission would actually be kind of more irritating, in my opinion, because that effectively gives you a clock. You now have what is a slow enrage, basically. In other words, there's not a hard number that you must beat this mission by this time. Instead, there is a gradually worsening situation. For those of you not aware, that's a term from World of Warcraft, where you had hard enrages and slow enrages. A hard enrage is if 5 minutes passes and you haven't killed the boss kills you. He just does it. Usually that's done by berserker timers and whatnot, or enrage timers. A soft enrage is that every 2 minutes the boss will summon an ad, and every time they do it, they summon another ad. So eventually, it will reach a point where there are so many ads on the table that you just can't keep up anymore. That is correct. I am not on the laptop, as we announced last night. Yay. Absolutely, Big Mama Frank. That is the goal. We're going to do StarCraft, Brood War, Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, and then right into Legacy of the Void. Not sure of the exact time the Legacy of the Void stream will be happening at. Depends on when exactly Legacy of the Void goes live. Whoops. Trying to think, actually. See, here's the thing. Basically, it depends on when it goes live. If it goes live at midnight, that's midnight Pacific, which is 3 in the morning my time. I'm not staying up till 3, especially since I'm already having a lot of trouble getting a lot of sleep right now. So, no. If it comes live at midnight, and if anybody knows any information on this, please feel free to share. We'll go ahead and be streaming Legacy of the Void the next morning. If it goes live earlier, well, maybe we might do that. At the moment, I am anticipating a release early at midnight, and thus we'll be doing it. end the day. So, honest question for you guys. Please feel free to be honest about this. How many of you out there are going to be watching Legacy of the Void and playing with me? And how many of you are going to be playing Fallout 4 and totally ignoring my stream?
Your forces are under attack.
Samu, you're fine. During longer missions like this, I'm okay with off-topic questions, as long as they're within reason. If I don't answer you, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's because I'm busy or because I missed your question. I say this often to my viewers. I probably said this to you at least once. Yeah, that is most likely, Samurai, so we'll see. Oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot. That's a rarity. Get up there, Jimmy. Of course you can, Lurker, and I encourage you to do so. Words. No, Chemic. The general idea is to finish Heart of the Swarm before Legacy of the Void comes out. If I'm falling behind, I can cheat. I can cheat to push through the lore run, and I will. I don't want to, but that's the goal. If I have to do so, that sucks, but whatever. I was saying something, I can't remember what I was saying. Whatever, get down there. So, this is funny. Some of the earlier missions kind of teach you the wrong way. What I mean by that is, in most of these early missions, especially as Terrans, 1 bunker and 2 turrets is pretty much the optimal setup for any given node of defense. You don't really need much more than that in order to be able to defend against just about any onslaught that's coming. That changes violently when you get to later missions, where you need a full tilt, defensive armada of doom in order to have a successful defend point, and most of the time that won't even work, because they'll be using siege tanks, ghosts, and other things that outrange your defenses, because the AI knows how to outrange your defenses. So I feel like there's actually a little bit of improper tutorialization in these early missions. Like, yeah, you could totally set up just a couple defenses and you're fine. And then, you get completely screwed over. I will not be going pro because I am not pro. I also don't have time. My schedule is so crammed now that I have my PC and everything's in working order, that there's no way in hell I could actually sit down to actually get good at Starcraft. It's funny because I want to. I would love to go back into the competitive market, so to speak, for Starcraft 2. I've been wanting to for years, and I keep not doing it because of time commitments. Yeah, no. Not only do I have to stream Fallout 4 pretty much the moment I finish Legacy of the Void, which is what I'm doing, by the way, but I also then have to really start cranking out recorded videos because I need to get back up on my Voyager and my Fallout and Primus and all that other fun stuff, so...
This is Jimmy.
No. I haven't even had a chance to speedrun lately, and I really want to get on that. Yeah, we've got enough bank, I don't have to think about that. I love that too, Nero's As. We talked about that earlier. Hello, Kyonko. So we're going to do a really boring strategy for this one. I bet you guys can guess what it is, based on what I'm already doing. Normally, when I'm playing through this mission, I like to have fun with it. I know, weird, right? What I do, and I can go and show you what I do. I go north, there's like a resource node right here on a cliff, and I take that, and then I go north and take this node, and then I go into the little canyon thing right about here and take this one, then I go over here and take this one, and then, now that I've destroyed all of the enemy bases, that's when I go ahead and take out all of these spore turrets that are out here, and then finally rescue the NORAD 2. So, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do a slightly different, rushier strategy. Oh, speaking of which, we have plenty of resources now, so... Repairing the NORAD 2 takes forever, by the way. Oh, fun little fact, this game kind of cheats by having Zerg units apparently literally spawn in here to attack the NORAD 2 and whatever's here. I don't think that's too bad of a thing, because they always come in burrowed. So the idea is they're literally burrowing their way through the earth and then attack, So I'm kind of okay with it. It also keeps things interesting, otherwise they'd have to actually program the AI to attack regularly, and that's just infeasible. Yeah, I really wish Fallout 4 or Legacy of the Void, one of them was coming out at a different release date, but, whatever.
Base is under attack.
Oh yeah, we haven't done... Okay, we need to do that next. We'll get that going next.
Upgrade complete.
8. Guys, do you think I should go completely hog wild? Who here thinks I should... Here. Deutsch, do me a favor and start a poll that's just yes or no. So, just start the poll. Here's the question, guys, for the yes or no. Should I go hog wild? Yes or no? If you'll start the poll, that'd be fantastic. Please and thank you. We're going to go ahead and get 1, 2, 3 of these going here. I'm going to assume the answer is yes. Thank you, Deutsch. Don't worry, Grey Wolf. We've got this queen situation covered. Maybe. I've seen a lot of yeses and no nos. I wonder if that's significant for any reason. It's 5, 6.
SCP good to go, sir.
7. Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm going to do here. Anybody who's played this game probably knows exactly what I'm going for here. Yeah, we're fine on that. We might expand a little bit, just a little bit. Whether I go hog wild or not. Yes or no. It's really simple. Tal would probably vote no, yeah. I need you to get started on Operation Supplies. One of the interesting problems I've always had with early Starcraft stuff, including the game I'm playing right now, is real estate with my bases. I feel often limited real estate-wise.
Orders, Captain? I read you. Right away, sir. Orders received.
What you mean? You know, there's probably a joke involved in that. I don't actually know what it is off the top of my head. Because I'm terrible. Yeah, no queens yet. I'm a little surprised by that, actually. Okay. Still unanimous. Wow. Alright.
Upgrade complete.
Okay. So that's going to be... which we have enough for right now. Actually, we might not have enough minerals for this. Yeah, we actually ran out of minerals. Wow. That's a rarity. Sorry, we can't go completely hog wild yet. We'll go conquer another base soon, and then we'll go hog wild.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
Upgrade complete.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me?
Quite a while, sure you. It's not a commonality on my channel, that's for certain. I think one day I was like, should I stream, yes or no? And it was like, yes. Even that wasn't unanimous, I don't think.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
Do you want a piece of me, boy? Boy. Gotta say the right boy. Don't do it, Lurker. Don't do it. Deutsch will eat you. Apparently, that's kind of terrifying.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
There would be no way, Silver Dragoon.
Your forces are under attack.
What the? Ah! Oh god, Zerglings. Wait, that's depleted. Oh, hey. Okay, so. That's all I have to do for right now. I knew one guy used to try to play Starcraft missions and taking 0 losses. He could do the earlier missions pretty easily. Then he got anywhere in the campaign, it just stopped being feasible. It's very difficult to not lose units in this game, because they're so squishy. By design, I might add.
Your forces are under attack.
Alright.
Your forces are under attack.
Yes, seriously, Samurai. He had to replay the first mission, the very first Zerg mission, like 8 times to get a no-losses run of that first mission. The first mission! The tutorial of the Zerg mission. Yay, emotes are back! Woo! So, just think, guys, someday I might actually have emotes myself. Well, probably not, in all honesty, but it'd be nice. So let's see. What is 50 times 40? 2,000, I think? Is that right? Someone check me on that, please. What would you prefer, Kemek, if you don't mind my asking? Like, total annihilation, for example, is basically straight down, which is kind of weird in some cases. Almost Lurker, but not actually. I don't know, Deutsch. Because they hate me, that's why.
Give me something to shoot, Commander. Go, go, go. Let's move. Outstanding.
Yeah, I know, Grey Wolf. She was spitting on me.
Let's move.
Kinda literally.
Go, go, go. Outstanding. Go, go, go.
It's a nice little touch, by the way. The AI will start to build a building, and if you start attacking it, they will actually cancel to save the worker, at least for Zerg.
Rock and roll. Go, go, go. Rock and roll. Let's move.
Come on. Get up there. Oh, gotcha, Kemek. It's actually funny you mention that. I've talked about that too. And it's another one of those acceptable reality break things. Either it bothers you or it doesn't, because, you know, what are you going to do about it? Because actually having a battlecruiser that large would be infeasible, so the only alternative is to simply remove the battlecruiser from the existence. Which is possible. It's just, you know, again, I'm not defending it, I'm just explaining.
Go, go, go.
Gosh, I hope so. If the Dragoon pathfinding is still having issues, then we officially have a problem with things.
Base is under attack.
Oh, hey, we have enough. Okay. Troops, I want you to go bravely die. Oh, shoot. You may be bravely dying anyways. Holy crap.
Your forces are under attack.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. 100 viewers is nothing to Twitch. They want people with thousands of viewers who are all spamming emotes constantly. Yes, there is, Kemek. Which makes sense. Again, battlecruisers are freaking huge. And we see in the cinematic intro to Heart of the Swarm just how big battlecruisers are as one collides with a city. and it's huge, as you might imagine. Pretty advanced Neurozaz, but it kind of depends on how you define that, since, you know, technology is not a linear progression. Oh, I'm sorry. Dragon Quest. Yes, Suikoden. Much less likely, but still possible. Yeah, true enough, Samurai. I was actually talking to my dad with that recently. I think I mentioned that to a few of you. Dad was like, you know, son, you know, how are you thinking long term? I'm like, well, honestly, Dad, I need to be bigger if I want this to be feasible as my career, which is the goal. I do want to do this, you know, for the remainder of my working days. And he's like, well, what kind of, you know, how many viewers and followers do you need for that? And I'm like, well, Dad, actually, that's not how that works. I don't want a large number of viewers, per se. I want to make enough money off of what I do in order to do that. It's one of the reasons I focus so much on niche appeal, rather than trying to broaden out my show and do, you know, 10-minute videos where I'm screaming about, you know, Friday Night videos or whatever. Or Friday Night, Five Nights at Freddy's, excuse me. So, and I mean no offense to the people who do that. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to give in to the demographic just to get more viewers. I want support, certainly, and I do need more support, but I would much rather keep the awesome group of awesome, that's you guys, by the way, than to lose that in favor of viewership, which isn't even a guarantee of money, by the way. Viewers do not equal income, not necessarily, which some people also don't seem to be aware of. Some people just think of, in terms of the viewership, as being a direct metric, when it is not. Well, Fearsome, here's the thing. The answer to your question is they could actually invent ships that are smaller and have those be relatively equivalent size. But that would require going back and, at this point, actually, you know, basically rewriting the canon or adding new things to canon to change the story so that all of a sudden the battlecruiser capital ships are not such a big a deal as they currently are. Oh hey, my ruminations are going to keep going, Raskor. I just kind of lost my computer for a bit there. It's not like I chose to stop doing the rumination thing. It's not like I just decided, you know what? I don't feel like ruminating no more. No, that's not what happened. Things were forced upon me.
Give me something to shoot. Go, go, go. Standing by.
There, go die. I would add convenience features, Neurozaz. Graphic changes, of course. UE changes. Greater modern support. You know, basically all the fundamentals. Nothing big. The only thing I might consider doing is changing a few missions to make them more lore accurate. And even that I would want to do very carefully. Damn it, Samurai. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go, go, go.
Okay, so I used to do this with Mutalisks. That was pretty much my Zerg strategy, Mutalisks. They were fast, they had reflective attacks, and they were fast. It was my response force.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
Base is under attack.
Piece of me, boy. You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me?
Yes, there will be a Kingdom Hearts Lorerun in the future. I do not have an ETA.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
Report for duty. Roger that.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a
Kamek,
piece
you
of
type
me,
better
boy?
English than several English native speakers I've seen.
Boy.
And there's the truth.
You want a piece of me, boy? You want a piece of me, boy?
See, here's the real reality, Sigma. I'm not actually at the 3,000 mark. I know it looks like I am, but I'm not actually. I've explained this before on my stream a few times. A few people have decided to donate much more than usual to Patreon during this harsh time. and that's awesome, and I'm grateful, but I'm not actually at 3,000 a month. That being said, what I do intend to start turning around is a lot of more of what I've already been doing. In all honesty, I'm already turning around a fairly large chunk of my income into the show. I spend money on, on the website, I spend money on games regularly. As I've said before, I don't get review copies of games, so everything you see me review is something I've bought with the money you pay me. So that's a thing. I've been buying new equipment. I need to get a few actually slightly better things for the computer in order to make sure I'm rendering better and not having some of the issues I'm currently having. I also... Just a second. I also want to start, like, upgrading certain things with my studio. For example, I'd like to get some proper studio lighting in here, which would be great. I'd like to do more work outside of this area. I'd like to have more time to actually set up a sound booth, so I have better sound quality on my recordings, especially for the things like the Artian Guys Theater features, that kind of a thing. I hope that answers your question on how I intend to spend the money in the future. I also plan on buying Pogs, of course. I think it was disgusting and terrible, Markin, and that's just me being honest. I thought it was bad. Can you tell what my strategy is yet, guys? We're about to see some interesting pathfinding problems here. Hey, Shadow. You missed us talking about science. Again. Oh, I will be doing that non-stop, Zed. That's the new plan right there. Oh, well. Hi, Shadow. Bye, Shadow. Yep. Mass siege tanks! That one Marine's like, no! The red cloaks are coming! The red cloaks are coming! I want the Marine piece. Bye, Queen. So this is funny, because this ramp is going to make this strategy totally pointless, but whatever. So, Shadow, really quick, question for you. If you were to put odds on how likely it is for 3 ships that are going through warp with no navigation to end up not only at a habitable location, but a very a very hospitable habitable location with tons of resources and tons of everything, how likely do you think it is that that would happen? So we're going to try and spoon-feed our way in here. This is the hardest part about Starcraft 1. Getting your units to the destination. That's another reason I used to mass mutas as Zerg. Because they aren't dependent upon the pathfinding. They don't care about terrain. They just go to the location. Alright. Now that all that's done, get up on the Hydra's back. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly why carrier spam works so well. One of the 2 big reasons. The other reason being that the AI tends to have problems focus firing on the carriers and will always prioritize the fighters. Now, a good player can counter carrier spam very well because they can focus fire carriers down very, very quickly and easily. But against any AI units, carrier spam is just going to wreck face. And even against players, it's actually hard in some cases to get your units, your counter units, in quickly enough and sufficiently enough in order to take out those carriers. That's a good question, Fearson, now that you mention it. I can't think of many RTSs that have not done, you know, that have been exceptions to that rule.
Yes, sir?
Let's see, what do I need to get over there exactly? Raynor and 2 dropships. Where's Raynor? Raynor! There you are.
Did I read you?
Raynor! And we'll speed this up a little bit. Oh, hey. Dead guys are here. Keep fighting. For my glory. The glory of the sons of Korhal. For Emperor Mengsk. Wait.
Your forces are under attack.
Okay, so Shadow, let me rephrase my question a little bit better here. Because you missed the whole thing, because you weren't here, obviously. These ships have no navigation. They're flying at faster than light speed through the galaxy randomly, and they happen to come across habitable planets with tons of resources. Within 30 years, no less.
Job's finished.
I put the random here because that's my whole point. I strongly believe that Duran was behind that. There's no way in hell, in my opinion, that that they just randomly stumbled across the Kapula sector. I need to talk about the Kapula sector at some point in time. Not sure where a good time to do it is.
Your forces are under attack.
I have my original copy of this game that I purchased, but you can buy it on the website. It works just fine on Windows 7. There's a program that I'm actually using called Chaos Launcher, which is how I
Add-on complete.
which is how I get it playing in windowed mode and all that fun stuff. It also fixes the color issues with the game, so that's nice. Oh, hey, we're done. Yeah, Chaos Launcher is really helpful for this. There's a bunch of stuff you can do for it, but I just basically do it to fix the color and to do it in windowed mode. So somebody asked something about Mengsk earlier. Let me scroll up. Nerud has been confirmed to be the same person as Duran.
Take your order?
So, I suppose that answers your question. He's also very likely the same person, in addition to actually confirmed. Someone was asking a question about... There it is! Krenzler was asking about Mengsk. I gotta be honest, I didn't see Mengsk as, like, you know, Mengsk when I first played this game. But I did see him as a villain. Or at the very least, someone who was really out for himself, basically. A lot of what he did just did not track true for me, you know?
Strap yourselves in, boys. I copy that.
The last folks I expected to show up. What's your angle here, Mengsk?
Our angle? I'll give you an angle, you slimy Confederate piece of
Jim, enough. I'll handle this. The Confederacy has fallen apart, Duke. Its colonies are in open revolt. The Zerg are rampaging unchecked. What would have happened here today if we hadn't shown up?
Your point?
I'm giving you a choice. You can return to the Confederacy and lose, or you can join us and help save our entire race from being overrun by the Zerg. I don't think it's a difficult decision.
Join forces with you? I'm a general, for God's sake.
A general without an army. I'm offering you a position in my cabinet, not just some backwater post. Don't test my patience, Edmund.
All right, Mengsk. You got a deal.
You've made the right choice, General Duke.
I can't believe you're really gonna trust this snake.
Don't worry, Jim. He's our snake now.
Yeah, pretty much, Krenzler. Let's talk about that cutscene that just happened briefly here. First of all, the discussion back and forth between Duke and Mengsk is interesting. As I've mentioned before, both of them are members of the old families. They actually knew each other before this game even started. And Mengsk approaches him pretty much perfectly. In other words, that line, I'm offering you a position in my cabinet, not just some backwater post. That's a two-pronged assault there. Number one, he knows Duke wants to be on top of the heap, and he's offering him that. He is saying, look, I'm taking over. You know, I'm not just saving us, you know, and rebelling. We're taking over. And he says it without saying it, but it's very well implied that Mengsk wants to start a new organization, which will eventually become the Terran Dominion. He's clearly saying, you know, you want to be in a position of power, or you want us to let you go and you can go back and have fun with the Confederacy. The second point is the jab about the backwater post. We don't know details because it's never been covered in the books, but the implication, in my opinion, has always been there that Duke has basically fallen from favor amongst the old families. What has he been dealing with this entire time? Lots of things out in the fringe. Lots of things out in the outlier colony worlds and whatnot. Not the kind of thing you'd expect a member of the old families who is a competent general to be in charge of. He has effectively been reduced to a backwater post at this point in time. So, you're not only getting to keep your position, you're getting an upgrade. You're being promoted for all intents and purposes. And as we see, Duke is basically the chief tactician for the Terran Dominion for quite some time to come, right up until his death, actually. So that's a brilliant maneuver on Mengsk's part to get Duke to capitulate. Also, his tone is completely different. Mengsk has two different tones in the original Starcraft. The statesman who's trying to speak with his old southern drawl to keep people at ease, and then when he just completely changes tone, like he was just talking, you are going to do this, and this is how things are going to happen, and blah, 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 just hammering into the person, which is brilliant, of course. Great voice acting. I love the guy who plays Mengsk. He's ruddy brilliant. As I said back when Wings of Liberty came out, they were like, oh, we're changing Kerrigan's voice actress, but we're keeping Raynor's and Mengsk, because my response was, okay. Because those guys are both awesome at their roles. But anyways, so have fun with carpets there, Shadow. Yeah, it actually does, Trigo, now that you think about it. So yeah, I like that he hits Duke hard with that tone. He's just like, look, I'm not putting up with any crap. This is how we're gonna do this, and it's a great negotiation tactic, basically. The last thing I want to mention here, really quick, is that I really like the idea that when Duke turns, he brings a fairly large amount of the Alpha Squadron with him. That's one of the hidden benefits that they never mention outright, and yet is implied heavily. It's to the point where it's a thing, but they never outright state it. That's one of the subtler hints of Mengsk's long-term goals, his ambitions. He didn't just get a general; he got an army to come with it. And some people might ask, well, why would they still follow Duke to be a traitor? Well, two possible reasons. Number one, as we've pointed out, the Confederacy is not exactly very popular right now. So anybody who is actually a conscript or someone who still has their brain basically in the military is probably going to go ahead and feel free to join up with the Sons of Cornwall, especially when their own general just turncoated. So, second point, most of the troops of the Confederacy are the mind-controlled, psychoactive drugs, memory-wiped Marines who used to be criminals. So, again, they just go ahead and sign up with whoever's in charge. So it actually makes a lot of sense that basically all of Alpha Squadron would come with them. It also is one of the reasons why I feel the Terran Dominion was able to confiscate so much of the military, in terms of personnel, of the Confederacy. And yes, I have played Alpha Protocol.
Commander,
this mission. I'm actually gonna hang on. I'm gonna go and do the break for lunch now. Do a couple phone calls, and then we'll do this mission. I'm looking forward to this mission. I'm gonna talk a little bit during the briefing of this mission. You'll see why. But I will be back, guys. Please don't freak out. Don't freak out. No, it's okay. I'll be back in a bit, guys.